First thing here I'm going to do with my line now, Command T, is I'm going to size it so it's the same width as my word love, and now that is done. So the two words for my logo, it's the Love Now logo, are love and now. And I'm going to go to the word love, and I will select it and change it to white, which now you can't see because it's white on a white background. Not so helpful. However, I'm going to switch over to the shape tools, which would probably be one of the main things I would use if I was trying to design a logo in Photoshop, is I would probably use a lot of shape tools. So depending on the style of what you're designing, that may not make sense to you, but it does make sense to me. So I'm going to go over here and use the heart, right? And I'm building out this silly little heart here, which is going to be white. No, it needs to be red, right? So there's my heart shape, and I'll drop it behind everything else, and now you can see that it does say love now. So now it's on a lower level than the other elements, and that was just extremely lucky that that even fit in there, but everything needs to kind of be moved over. So I'm going to click and shift click through all these elements, and using the arrow key on my keyboard I just kind of centered that work a little bit. And now I'll click away and lower the text elements. Okay, fine. Now if I come back to my shape here and I do Command T, I can alter the shape a bit. This is the shape tools, kind of like this hanging out a little bit like that. It's kind of cool. Because this is a shape, hit return. If I come over to it or come onto it with the direct selection tool, I can actually click on this shape because it's, well, a vector, and I could alter the shape if I felt like this was too something. So let's kind of make that a little wider, and I'll do the same thing on this side. I will make this a little wider. So you are still working with vectors, but you've got a little bit less vector drawing to control there. Okay, so now I have that. Now let's go back into the shape tools again. So here's the shape tools, and I'm going to look at the pop-down menu. As you may or may not know, this little gear tool allows you to grab a lot of other elements that you might want for design work. And you can find more shapes, Photoshop shapes, to load into your Photoshop on the web. This is banners and awards, and I will append. So now I get banners. Banners are always helpful in the creation of logo type things, and I will use this little banner shapey deal. And I'll draw that across, and it's now red, but I will give it a different color, such as white, and click away, and this is the shape which I cannot see because it is white. Okay, and if I indeed want to change the color of this, this is that shape. There's a couple of different ways I can do it. I just double clicked on it, and that opened up the layer style. I can do a color overlay. Now it's gray, which is actually the color I wanted. I just want a little bit lighter gray. So here I'll see what happens if I blend these two things together. Here we go, a little bit lighter. And I can change the mode from normal to multiply. It is not looking very multiplied. Lighter, no. How about overlay? Overlay.
Does Illustrator have those kind of shapes?
Well, Illustrator definitely has some different symbol shapes, but because Illustrator is a vector tool, you're more inclined to actually create them yourself in Illustrator. So by building up shapes, that's one way you can build a logo in here. Other things that you might want to consider, again, this is a shape, is a stacking of shapes. So I'm going to stack. Now I have two hearts, one on top of the other, and this one, it is currently a shape, but I'm going to change it from a shape into a rasterized element. So it is no longer going to be a shape. I'm going to tell it to be rasterized. So from layer here, I'm telling it to rasterize this shape. It is now pixels. It no longer has the shape icon. Shape icon here, no shape icon there. Purpose of that could be that I could do select, load selection onto what's called shape 1, and now I have it marching ants, yeah, okay, and it's underneath the other heart. So then I could go, let's say, to another color. I'm going to use black, keeping this ultra simple, and then I'll do edit, stroke. So I'm putting a line around that, and this line is going to be sitting at the center of that, or it could be at the outside. 1 is probably not thick enough. I'll tell it 5, and there's no preview button, which is very sad, so you sort of have to do it, and if you don't like it, you have to undo it and do it over. So click OK, and it looks kind of thin, but it's definitely doing something. So okay, edit, image, getting tired, sorry guys. Stroke, stroke, stroke. Where'd you go? Undo stroke. I have now forgotten how to read. I have lost the ability to discern what the different letter forms mean.
Undo stroke is on the top of it.
I don't want to undo it. I want to add more.
Window stroke.
Edit, stroke. There we go. Thank you. And I'm going to like make that like heck of a lot bigger, like 10 times thicker, or at least 5 times thicker. So I'm going to go 25. And now I have a black stroke around it. Okay, still not thick enough here. Let's see if I can do that again. Stroke, getting it. Okay, 50. No. 80. Yes. Boom, do it. There we go. Okay. I know, it's exciting. So here I'll do that same thing on shape 2. You can also do this. Even if you don't want to rasterize it, you can, I believe, do select. Nope, you can't. Can't do it. So here I have to rasterize that layer again. And now I rasterized it. And now I'll do select, load selection, and that should be shape 2 transparency. And then I'll go edit, stroke, and it'll be black 80, and now that will have a really fat, ridiculous stroke around it. However, good idea. All right, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to duplicate that, and then I'm going to stroke it, because edit stroke, 80, boom, right? It'll look really bad. And then deselect, I'll take that strokey situation, I'll put it underneath the heart, like that. Nope. There we go. So, you know, that looks really bad too. So conceptually, you could do it. I find it really difficult to do compared to knowing Illustrator, which is much more natural, but I hope that is somewhat of a help to you. I definitely should develop something like this for our advanced Photoshop class, doing a lot more with type in Photoshop and making some kind of an object or an element. Okay. The nice thing about doing something like this in Photoshop is that you can, use other effects that are not as readily apparent or available to do in Illustrator. But just to bring this thing home, again, if I went edit stroke, and this is the upper layer of the bannery shape, and I set this to, let's just say, 20, and outlined that one, so I can build that thickness up, build it up, and build it up till I get that right. And stacking things on top of each other, one on top of each other, on top of each other, to create different thicknesses of stroke. Yes? Okay. So that is my very rough how to begin building something logo-like in Photoshop. Any questions, comments, concerns? We want to know what it looks like to make a plaid heart.
If we created it on here, is there a way I can take it back to Illustrator and still tweak it?
Well, you could take it back into Illustrator, but it'll still be pixel-based. So that's usually the opposite way that you would go. Usually you might draw something in Illustrator and bring it into Photoshop and apply gradients or color or special effects. Because logos are generally vector-based, it's usually not a best practice to build them in Photoshop. Because if something needs to be printed on a billboard, it's highly unlikely that you're going to build this thing so big that you might need it for that size. Whereas in Illustrator, it's resolution independent. You can scale it to any size and it'll still stay sharp. Whereas in Photoshop, it's pixel-based. And if you scale it to any size, you will lose sharpness if you scale it larger.